Hello, everybody, and welcome to History Bite number 223, dated April 4th, 2021. I'm Walter, your mobile historian and blue-collar scholar. This History Bite is entitled, How the United States Acquired the Virgin Islands. For those who are unaware, the United States Virgin Islands are part of the Virgin Islands Archipelago, which is a small group of islands located in the Eastern Caribbean immediately to the east of the island of Puerto Rico. Okay? The U.S. Virgin Islands contain three main islands, St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, as well as about 50 smaller islands and cays. The other Virgin Islands are administered by the United Kingdom. They are known respectfully as the British Virgin Islands. And for the record, the U.S. dollar is the official currency on both the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands. So how exactly did the USA acquire these lush Caribbean islands? All right, and if you want to get an idea of how beautiful they are, take a look at the movie Weekend at Bernie's 2. I know I'm showing my age with that, but hey, that's the only movie I know that was supposed to be set there at least, and certainly has some panoramic views of the Virgin Islands. Beautiful place, folks, beautiful place. So again, how did America get these lush, islands? Well, prior to the 1860s, we had no interest in them whatsoever. But after the American Civil War and the renewed fuel of manifest destiny, the United States soon took interest in these islands that were then known as the Danish West Indies. Indeed, before becoming American, these islands were under the administration of the Kingdom of Denmark, okay? It was perfect, at least for Denmark, because the islands, with the abolition of slavery some 20 years before this, had become remarkably unprofitable, and they were looking to get rid of them, in fact. So the U.S. seeking to buy them and the Danes wanting to get rid of them seemed like a perfect thing, right? Well, didn't exactly work out that way, all right? As Secretary of State William Henry Seward, who was the leader of this U.S. desire to acquire the islands from Denmark, was not exactly very popular in the Senate of the United States due to his support of President Andrew Johnson, who was under impeachment at the time and being tried, all right? So, the Senate refused to approve of the treaty that had been approved by the Danes to sell the islands to the United States. So we almost had them back in 1867. But the Senate, being obstinate, not thinking very much of the Secretary of State, rejected the treaty that had been made between the U.S. and Denmark for the Danes to sell us the islands, and the matter came to an end. All right? So, fast forward about 30 years to the year 1900, when the U.S. government again approached the Danes about buying the Danish West Indies, okay? And a treaty was made, okay, between the U.S. and Denmark in 1900 regarding the sale of the islands to the United States, okay? And the Senate ratified such a treaty in 1902. But this time around, the Danish government rejected the treaty, okay? And also, unlike the previous time, 30 years earlier, when the U.S. attempted to buy the islands from Denmark, it didn't contain a local plebiscite, all right, to see what the islanders actually wanted, okay? So this treaty also went down in flames. So that put the matter to bed for the next 15 or so years. So we're fast forwarding now to the year 1915, and the First World War is raging in Europe, all right? The U.S. government, all right, especially after the sinking of the Lusitania in 1915, began to really get pissed off at Germany, okay? And feared Germany might invade and annex Denmark and occupy the Virgin Islands, well, the Danish West Indies, and use them as a base to attack shipping in both the Caribbean and the Atlantic, all right? So the U.S. once again approached the Danish government about acquiring the Virgin Islands. The U.S. government also thought they would make a great strategic outpost to protect the Panama Canal. Okay, so Secretary of State Robert Lansing approached Danish Ambassador Constantine Brun about acquiring the islands, and Ambassador Brun was anything but welcoming of this idea, considering that the U.S. had a terrible civil rights record with respect to African Americans, and since most of the islanders were black, he feared goodness only knows what will happen to them if they come under American administration. All right, so he demanded, as a condition of even, making this possible, that, the islanders be granted U.S. citizenship as well as free trade, and that a plebiscite be given to the islanders with respect to whether or not they want to go under American administration. And, Secretary Lansing pushed back, saying he didn't have the power to make such, agreement because Congress is in charge of citizenship and trade. Okay, he couldn't just say, yeah, Denmark, we'll do all that. Wasn't within his authority to do. Okay, and with respect to the plebiscite, he didn't support that either. So he added, a final touch to Brun that, Denmark, essentially, if you refuse to sell us the islands, we just may occupy them, as a matter of security purposes, okay, to protect the Panama Canal and protect shipping in the Caribbean. All right. So basically, at this point, Denmark's hands are tied. And this sounds familiar, doesn't it? This is almost like with Puerto Rico. All right. And the lands we acquired from Mexico. The U.S. has a very heavy-handed way of getting what it wants. OK, either, like I said in the video about Puerto Rico and how we obtained that island. The U.S. is basically saying we can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. But best believe we're going to get what we want. So we're offering you, Denmark, money for these islands. All right. We know you want to get rid of them. All right. So just sell it and stop being difficult. OK, so either way, the U.S. is going to find a way to get its way. Arm twisting, do whatever they got to do to get the islands. And, it's like I said, Denmark's hands were tied. OK, so, they figured, well, the Americans might occupy the islands. And there's nothing we could do to stop them. All right. Had the U.S. occupied the Virgin Islands, there was absolutely nothing Denmark could have done to prevent that from happening, and would have resulted in serious international humiliation for them. So they figured they might as well gain something from this inevitable loss. And, a treaty for the sale of the Virgin Islands was made. And one was signed in New York by Ambassador Brun and Secretary Lansing in August of 1916. Said treaty would be approved by the Danish Parliament later on and would be ratified by the U.S. Senate on September the 6th, 1916. Okay? The treaty had previously been given its assent by King Christian the 10th of Denmark. All right, so King Christian the 10th of Denmark, along with the Danish Parliament, approved of the treaty, and it was signed by President Woodrow Wilson in January of 1917. Okay, so the formal transfer of the islands took place on the 31st of March, 1917. All right, at that point, the islands formally became the U.S. Virgin Islands from the Danish West Indies. Okay? And this was finalized with a payment of 25 million American dollars paid in gold coin to the Danish government. All right? With the transfer of the islands from Danish administration to American administration, the vast majority of Danish citizens left and went back to Denmark. Same thing the Russians did when we acquired Alaska from them. They had no desire to live under American administration and returned home. Okay? And you can still see the effects of Danish influence on the islands. A lot of the streets have Danish names, and the Lutheran Church is somewhat strong there as well. Okay? So, For the first few decades after the islands came under the administration of the United States, we didn't really pay that much attention to them. They were under the control of the U.S. Navy from roughly around the time they were purchased until 1931. In 1932, the Congress finally gave the islanders citizenship. So what is that, 15 years later? All right. In 1936, they were given a good degree of self-government, but it would not be until 1970 that the islanders would elect their own governor for the first time. Okay? And so that, folks, is how the U.S. acquired the Virgin Islands. Okay? So let's review those important dates real quick. We see 1867 is the first time the U.S. tried to buy the islands from Denmark. Treaty was rejected by the Senate. We tried again in 1900. Treaty was approved by the U.S. Senate in 1902, but this time it was rejected by the Danish Parliament. Okay? And last but not least, we see a formal treaty made between the U.S. and Denmark in August of 1917 that was ratified by the U.S. Senate. A formal treaty between the U.S. and Denmark made in August of 1916 that was ratified by the U.S. Senate on September 6, 1916, as well as the Danish Parliament in August of 1916. All right. The Treaty of Transfer was signed by President Woodrow Wilson in January of 1917, and the formal transfer of the Danish West Indies to the United States of America took place on March 31st, 1917, and the islands would be renamed the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay? So that is how the United States acquired the Virgin Islands from the Kingdom of Denmark. Any questions or controversies, leave them down below and I'll be happy to answer them. All right? If you enjoyed or liked this video, learned a thing or two from it, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd certainly appreciate if you did that. It costs you nothing whatsoever. Just hit that little red subscribe button and we'll be in business. Thank you all so much for listening. You've been great. You know, it does me great joy to teach these things which many do not know. Okay? So take care, stay safe out there, and I will talk to you at the next bite. Peace.